Another slow start, another game filled with defensive breakdowns. We'll discuss the Islanders' fading playoff hopes and what it'll take to get them in. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us to talk a little Islanders hockey tonight. I got to say, this was a tough loss for the New York Islanders. We will cover what went wrong, a lot of familiar themes there. We'll talk about the fading playoff hopes and maybe how this team should proceed for the rest of this year. Plus, we'll have our weekly farm report and a lot more. 4-1, Tampa Bay beating the New York Islanders, and a lot of recurring themes. In other words, the same problems and very much the same results. Islanders give up the first goal of the game. 47th time this year they've given up the first goal. That is worst in the league. And guess what? When your team struggles to put pucks in the net, when you're in the bottom 6 or so in the league in goals scored, and you fall behind 1-0 or 2-0 or whatever the case may be, you give up that first goal, it's not conducive to winning a lot of hockey games. And the Islanders have made a habit of slow starts. The power play, again, inept. Badly timed penalties, including penalties when the Islanders were in the offensive zone, when the Islanders were on the power play, penalties that are lazy. As Butch Goring would say, your feet stop moving, so you end up holding or tripping or hooking. Those are the kind of penalties we're still seeing this veteran team take this late in the season, and to say it's frustrating is an understatement. The breakdowns in the defensive zone, the poor coverage, the players left alone, unguarded in high danger scoring areas. It happened too many times. Now, look, got to tip your cap, okay? There are times when the opposing team just makes an unbelievable play and there's not a lot you could do about it. And I think we saw 2 beautiful primary assists from Nikita Kucherov, who is unquestionably one of the best, if not the best players in the NHL right now. And you go down the list of the elite talent on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Andre Vasilevskiy, one of the better goalies in the NHL. Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Jake Gensel. Just enough talent on this team, Victor Hedman, that they are head and shoulders above the New York Islanders. The talent level is not there. And look, it's hard to compare eras. I understand that. But if you go back and look at the Islanders from 1975, let's say, till 1985, the dynasty years and a few years before, the Islanders had elite players, Hall of Famers like Billy Smith, Brian Trotz, Dennis Potvin, Mike Bossy, Clark Gillies. Those are all Hall of Fame players. Those were elite players in their era. How many elite players do the Islanders have right now? Maybe one. Maybe Ilya Sorokin would be considered an elite player, and he's certainly not playing like it right now. Maybe because he's exhausted from the overwork that he's gotten. Maybe he's just having a bad couple of weeks, but he's the closest thing the Islanders have to an elite player. Skaters, there's some good ones, don't get me wrong, but elite, no. When you don't have the talent to compete player for player with teams like the Lightning or the Panthers or the Golden Knights or the Oilers, you got to give effort. You got to be smart, play fundamentally smart hockey, and you've got to hustle. And unfortunately, the Islanders just do not consistently do that. Interesting quote after the game from Patrick Waugh, basically talking about the Duke, Anthony Duclair. And I am surprised at this quote, not because it's wrong, but because he said it to the media. And, you know, that is not typical of Patrick Waugh. He generally does not call his players out to the media. But he said after the game against the Lightning, Anthony Duclair was, quote, god-awful, and, quote, he's lucky to be in the lineup. Again, is Duclair struggling this season big time? Absolutely. Was he significantly worse than 3 or 4 other players? No. No, he wasn't. But, yeah. And again, the reason he's in the lineup, the only spare forward the Islanders have right now is Matt Martin, and they're not going to play Matt Martin. So there's no threat of having Anthony Duclair sit. But obviously, Waugh, who has known the Duke since his junior days, trying to press those buttons and get Duclair going. There weren't a lot of highlights in this game. The Bo Horvat shorty was more or less the biggest highlight for this team. And again, I think the core issue for the Islanders, and we heard it during the broadcast if you were watching the ESPN Plus broadcast. PK Subban doing color, and yeah, I missed, Butch and Brandon, no question, okay? But it's sometimes interesting to get another perspective. And Subban, who himself was a puck-moving defenseman, constantly reiterated and accurately reiterated the root of the Islanders' problem is how they clear or do not clear the puck out of their own zone. And every day, as you've heard me talk about this over the last couple of years at least, transitioning from defense to offense has been a big struggle. Picking up players in high danger areas, missing your man, not back checking. The Islanders' identity under Barry Trotz was a hard-working defense-first team that nobody wanted to play even if you were going to win. You might beat the Barry Trotz-era Islanders, but you knew you were in a dogfight, and their identity was hard-hitting, defense-first, tight checking, difficult to play against. You know what the Islanders' identity is right now? Fall behind early, have trouble clearing the puck out of your own zone, sloppy at picking up men in the defensive zone, struggles to score, terrible on special teams. This team right now just isn't good enough. And I think we're looking at a situation where major changes, not a complete rebuild necessarily, but significant changes have to be made this offseason to this team. And again, to me, the big question is, will Lou Lamoriello even consider making those kind of changes? Everything in his history indicates probably not. But we'll see. We'll see. Hero and go to the game. Hero of the game is easy. Bo Horvat. Not sure there's too many other candidates right now for hero of the game. Go to the game. Unfortunately, a lot of candidates. Secondary hero maybe Casey Cizikas. Stood up, dropped the gloves, tried to give a little spark, settling some things with Yanni Gourde. Got to give him credit for that, right? But, go to the game to me is the team defense. Tony DeAngelo, -3 in this game. Noah Dobson, again, shoddy in his own zone. What's going on with Adam Pelech? Lost. Pelech, -1. No hits, no block shots, 2 giveaways in 20 minutes and 43 seconds. Alexander Romanov continues to get less ice time right now. He's not playing his best hockey, only 18 minutes and 43 seconds. Again, there's just not enough juice from this team. The desperation, the effort, it hasn't been there. We got to figure this out. All right. More to get to on today's show. The Islanders' playoff chances are hanging by a thread. We'll discuss that, plus some ideas as to what this team should do for the rest of the season. We have our weekly farm report, and for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a Massachusetts native who was with the Islanders in the early to mid-2000s and who scored one of the most dramatic playoff goals in Islanders history, especially if you're talking post-dynasty era. All that coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. That's wonderfulpistachios.com. The Islanders got no help on the scoreboard. Very little help, okay? I can't say none. But the Blue Jackets won. The Canadiens tied the game in the closing seconds, won the game in overtime. They get 2 points. The Red Wings lost in overtime. They got 1 point. There is a fading, and I do mean a fading chance that the New York Islanders can make the playoffs. MoneyPuck now has the Islanders' chances at 3.1%. Right now, Montreal is 5 points ahead of the Islanders. The Islanders do not have any games in hand. So Montreal has the second wild card. They are 5 points ahead of the Islanders. The Islanders have 8 games left to make up 5 points. And keep in mind, ahead of them still, the Red Wings, 1 point ahead of the Islanders, the Blue Jackets and Rangers, 3 points ahead of the Islanders. You've got to pass all those teams. You got to pass 4 teams in order to get into the playoffs with 8 games to go. I am going to say you need to go 6-1-1 or better to even have an outside chance. 3.1%. So how do you handle a situation like that? I know what Lou Lamoriello is going to do. He's going to play his same lineup at least until the Islanders are mathematically eliminated. And, that'll probably leave 2-3 games, at the end of the season. I don't know if I would wait that long. Maybe I would give it one more game. And then Marcus Hogberg going to start more games down the stretch. I might even let Jakub Skarek get another start. Why not? Let's see what the kid can do. I don't think he's a prospect, but let's see. And then, Matt Martin will probably get a start or a game or 2 at the end of the season, just out of sort of nostalgia and courtesy, because I doubt he's back as a player next year. But what I would do if I'm the Islanders right now, I would start calling up a few guys. Give Isaiah George another game or 2. Give, Adam Beckman a game or 2. Samuel Bolduc, Alex Jeffries. Let's see some of these guys down in Bridgeport who may have some potential, and let's see what they can do. Because you know what? You're not making the playoffs this year again unless you go 6-1-1 in these last 8 games, and even that doesn't guarantee a spot. There are players out there. I would shut down Anthony Duclair because he's clearly not 100% and he's not playing well. You heard what Patrick Waugh said after the game. So absolutely, sit him. There's nothing left for him to prove this year, that even if he plays lights out for the last 5 games of the year, let him heal. Let him heal and come back next year, hopefully healthier and better. I would rest a lot of guys who are just not playing well. Adam Pelech, struggling. Ryan Pulock, struggling. Noah Dobson, struggling. Maxim Siplikov, I think, has hit a wall. The NHL schedule is longer and more intense than the KHL. I think over the last 5 games or so, Siplikov has really struggled, taken some bad penalties, had some he's been fairly invisible on that 4th line. I would rest him for at least 3 or 4 games down the stretch. There is no point in playing some of these guys who are just not getting the job done. So sit them and let's see what some of these kids can do. And the answer may very well be nothing. You may, 10 years from now, you may go back and look at go online and go to Hockey Database or Hockey Reference and look up, Matthew Maggio and see that he played 3 games in his NHL career. Could be. But maybe it's time for him to start playing some of those games. Let's just see what he's got. Bridgeport season ended a long time ago. I mean, yeah, they still have games to play, but does it matter? They're historically bad. We're going to get to that coming up. So sit some guys, play backup goalies, let Sorokin sit out the rest of the season. I might give them one more start. They play Friday and Sunday. Start them Friday. If they lose that game, why play them again? Why risk injury? He is exhausted. Let's start giving some of these kids at least a look. Maybe it's a token look, but it's a look nonetheless, and let them, live their NHL dreams. You want to see what Liam Foudy can do for a game or two? Why not? Alex Jeffries? Absolutely. As long as there's no contractual issue where you're not burning a year on their contract, even if it's cap space that it costs you, it doesn't matter at this point. 3.1% chance of making the playoffs on a team that is just playing poor hockey. It is time to take a look at some of the kids and just shake things up. One issue, and everydayers, you've heard me talk about this. We've talked about accountability. The lack of depth doesn't allow for it. This team is also stale. The chemistry is just stale. It's not there. Shake things up. Sit guys down. Give other guys chances. I have no objection to Matt Martin playing a game or two down the stretch, maybe the last game or two of his NHL career. Let's just see what happens. You have nothing to lose at this point, and maybe you discover another Mark Gatcomb if you play somebody and he really shines and changes your viewpoint heading into training camp next fall. Who knows? But at the very least, you'll let some guys realize their NHL dream and shake things up a little bit, rest some guys who need rest, and start looking ahead toward next season, because this team is just not going to the playoffs this year, barring a miracle. Do miracles happen? Yes. Do they happen often? No. That's why they're called miracles. All right, more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about Bridgeport, how things are down there. They did actually win a game last week, so we'll talk about that. We'll have our Islanders' birthday today. I think this is an easy one. Did you get it? All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. And we're going to relive one of the better moments in recent Islanders history. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Time now for our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. 3 games last week since our last farm report. The first one last Wednesday, a 4-1 loss to the Hershey Bears at home. And unfortunately, the only goal for the Islanders, Cole Bardreau, he scored a shorty in the second period for his 4th goal of the season. It was the 7th shorty by the Islanders this season. Overall, though, a disappointing performance. It got worse on Friday when the Islanders visited Rochester. They lost 6-0, fell behind 3-0 after 1, gave up 3 more goals in the second, and the game was more or less over. So an embarrassing performance there, but they rallied, much to their credit. On Sunday in Toronto, the Islanders beat the Marlies by a score of 5-4, and they came back. They trailed 3-0. They trailed 4-1, and they end up winning. Liam Foudy with 2 goals and an assist, 3 assists for Chris Terry in the second period. Adam Beckman, Cam Thiesing also with a goal and an assist each, and Hunter Miska making 32 saves. So Terry, by the way, just a few points behind Jeremy Colleton for the all-time franchise record. So a 1-win, 2-loss week for the Bridgeport Islanders. Could be worse. Chris Terry, 62 points in 63 games, 19 goals. He's third on the team in goals, first in assists, first in points. Brian Pino, 23 goals to lead the team, 44 points. Liam Foudy, 20 goals, 20 assists. He's got 40 points in 63 games. Sam Bolduc leading all defensemen with 8 goals and 34 points. As far as some of the prospects are concerned, Alex Jeffries, 11 goals, 26 points in 52 games. William Dufour, 8 goals, 18 points in 45 games. He is banged up. And obviously, Isaiah George, let's talk about him. 4 goals, 12 points in 26 games. It ain't looking pretty. Oh, and Matthew Maggio. Maggio, 7 goals, 18 points in 55 games. Dufour, as we know, no longer in the organization since the trade deadline. But again, call up the guys who are here, see what they could do. But Bridgeport, they're running out of games. They're running out of time. They have a grand total of 7 games left. They're 15, 43-7. They have 37 points. That's a 285 point percentage. No other team in the entire league is lower than a 397. So it's ugly in Bridgeport this year. They have 2 games coming up this week. Today, Wednesday, April 2nd, a 10:30 a.m. start against the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. That's at home. And then Saturday, April 5th, a 5 o'clock Eastern time start against the Charlotte Checkers. Again, another home game. So just 2 games this week, and the schedule will end on April 19th. So running out of time. Last home game, April 13th. But thankfully for Bridgeport, the season is winding down. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. And, well, we are a day early here, but Thursday will be the 50th birthday of former Islanders forward Sean Bates, Melrose, Massachusetts native, drafted by his hometown Boston Bruins in the 4th round in 1993, played 4 seasons for BU. Made his NHL debut with the Bruins in 97-98, joined the Islanders for the 2001-2002 season, and had 52 points, 17 goals, 52 points in 71 games that year. Stayed on the island through the 2007-2008 campaign, and then finished his career in Europe and the AHL. Bates scored 72 goals and 198 points in 465 career NHL games, had 3 goals, 7 points in 29 playoff games. If you're talking Sean Bates, you got to go back to one of the most memorable moments of the post-dynasty era for the New York Islanders, April 24th, 2002, Game 4 of the Islanders' opening round playoff series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game tied 3-3. The Maple Leafs tied it with 3 minutes and 26 seconds left in regulation, but Sean Bates awarded a penalty shot with 2.5 minutes left. Now, remember, the Islanders trailed in this series 2-1. This was almost a must-win. Curtis Joseph was the goalie for Toronto. Chris Osgood, the Wizard of Oz, for the Islanders. Sean Bates awarded a penalty shot, and he puts the puck in the net for the game winner. He had 2 shots on goal in this game. One of them, obviously, the penalty shot goal. It was the game-winning goal. He was on ice for 20 minutes and 34 seconds. Osgood with 22 saves in this game, and the New York Islanders win it by a score of 4-3. They end up forcing a seventh and deciding game, but fall in that seventh game. But Sean Bates' goal, such a memorable moment for the New York Islanders. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, send us an email to lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. We will be back tomorrow. We'll talk about some rumors that we've been hearing. So everydayers, please join us for that. Lots to discuss. As you know, some people in this organization, their seat is getting hotter, and some people, maybe their seat should be even hotter than it is. But we'll discuss that more on tomorrow's show. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.